Can you hear me back in the back? Yeah. All right. Good. I'm not going to use the microphone. I'll blow your ears out. How good it is to be here this morning. What an honor to be around such a fine group of young men. Yeah. How good it is for brothers commune together. And that's what we are doing here today. We are communing together. My friend for many years, Alan, invited me today. I usually don't come out, but it's hard to say no to Alan. And it's about, I talk about fire safety. And I say, well, they already know about fire safety. What can I tell them about fire safety? And then as I look around, I see most of you guys got a little snow on the hill like myself. And I said, I'll talk about what I've learned. I'll talk about what I've learned. You know, in the city of Laguna, down south, there's a fire that's going through the urban area of that city, burning the houses. It's a high rent district. Houses $2,000, $3,000, and $4,000 are burning down just like any old shack. And so what I was thinking, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, do you have an exit strategy? You know, that's real important for us. If there's an emergency that comes upon us, what will you do? Do you have an exit strategy? I had a friend, a retired friend, that lived up in Paradise, in his house. Yeah, that's right. And it was the morning, early in the morning, he didn't even know the fire was taking place. He had a grandson who was a sheriff, drove through the back area, knocked on his door and said, you have to get out now. And he was started thinking about what can I have, what can I take? But he didn't have time to do that. He didn't have time to do that. And his grandson took him back to an alternate route back from the city down into Chico, which he didn't know about. Had it not, he would have been in that long line of people trying to get out that one street that a lot of people got burned up. So I thought, that's what I talk about today. We tend not to prepare for things like that. And we are in an area that this could very easily happen to us. An earthquake, a flood. I was at a flood a few years ago. Yeah, and I wasn't prepared. My car got completely submerged. Yeah, and they were. I'm sitting there, and they wanted everyone to vacate the area. Well, I have a two-story house. I said, well, I'll stay. But I was there thinking, I'm looking at my car, everyone else is thinking, they moved their car. I looked at my little car, I love my car. You know I love my car out. Right? And it was there, and I have a bad bag. Actually, here's the story. I live on a street, and there's the cross street, and water was running down my street. And we were sitting there watching it. And we said, okay, we move our car, there's no water on the other side of the street. Well, you know what happened? What happened was, we lived on the high side. Well, the cross street, Williams, was the apex of the high side of the street. When the water got to that apex point, it hit it, it took off just like gangbusters on the other side. My car was there. And I had hobbled back from parking my car, and I must have dropped my keys in all the water. Now the water's up to my waist. Everyone else ran and moved their cars to higher ground. mines were sitting there. But that night, they were saying that the Anderson Dam may burst, may break. If that was the case, the whole place would be flooded. And I'm thinking, where's this, you know? Where's that? Where are my valuables? I didn't have them together. So that's my question to you. That was the question of my friend in Paradise, ex-firefighter. And I'm sure the people down in Laguna, that was their question that they were asking as they had to vacate. And God, it's all over the place. In New Mexico, houses are burning just like crazy. We're seeing stuff that we've never seen before. Back in the late 80s, I was taking classes for the Advanced Fire Academy, and we were planning, we said, we'd be planning for major fires. And they would say, well, the fires that's up in the mountains, in the wildland area, some of those, as we plan, we just have to plan that they're going to burn. And at that time, it hadn't happened before. And we were thinking, oh, that's crazy. They're talking crazy. And sure enough, 20 or 30 years later, this is what's taking place. So I want to talk today about, are you prepared? Do you have the exit strategy? What would happen if there was an earthquake and you had to leave? What would you take with you? Could you gather it in a minute notice? Do you have it? Do you know where it is? I couldn't. I was trying to think of my extra set of car keys. I didn't know where they were. Then I thought other things. I had my trust and all of that. I have that in one place, but also has some precious metals. I'm thinking, I don't know where it all is. You see, I do now. I got it all. If I have to get out, buddy, I'm out in a second. I got everything. But with Huey up in Paradise, he went back to his house. He was a gun collector. He had guns. He had a gun cabinet. Itself probably was $10,000 because it was polished walnut and he had it locked in. And everything was just a pile of metal. He had gold that he kept. He was anxious to go back and find that. And it was a pile of metal, but it was there. In a lot of situations, you know, you got scavengers they come in and they take that. And so, an exit strategy. Just place in your head what you would do if something like that would happen. How about if you had to get out of San Jose? And they were telling us, well, if the Anderson Dam had gone, you know, I live sort of on the shores of Coyote Creek. If Anderson Dam with everything, I'd be going, how would I have gotten out of there? Yeah, I would think, well, maybe go Mount Hamilton. Maybe this way, you know, well, 101, I know it's going to be all full. So have a strategy in your mind so you don't have to be thinking those things in an emergency. It could happen. It happened in Santa Rosa at night. Yeah. And people, the firefighters said, people, number one, they didn't want to leave. The fire was right the next block over. And then when they got out, they wanted to go north on 101. And 101 was closed. So I'm saying the importance of fire is to have in your mind an exit strategy. Also have what you would take, the importance, values. And then how about medication? Yeah. Do you have a flashlight? I mean, outage is one of those. Electric outage. Do you have a flashlight and have batteries for those? Yeah, it's good to have that. And I tell you something else that's good to have too. It's good to have some water. Firefighters, the plan is to have at least a gallon of water that you take with you. Because we had water all around us during the floods. But you could drink it. You know? Yep. How about food? They're telling us that you should have at least about 3 days of food. But not fresh food, what kind? Canned food, you know, dried food. Excuse me, I have some dried food. I have about 5 days. And I remember when I first got out, I said I would never use this. But by the way the climate is acting, we just never know. So I'm saying, think about your exit strategy. Think about what you need to take with you if you had to get out in a minute's notice. And think about your family. I would like to say this in the next strategy. A lot of times, without knowing, every person is for themselves. And some get left behind. Some go to areas, they take the path that they see, and you don't know where everyone is. So the idea is have a prearranged area that you will meet. In the simple fire plan, we say that in your family, have at least 2 ways out of the house, and then have a place in the front yard that you said we will all meet. So you don't have to question if someone's left behind. Because most of the time, a lot of injuries and death are caused by individuals going back in looking for someone who's already out. Yeah. Exit strategy. 2 ways out. Same in the house as in the city. Do any of you live in a wildland, urban interface? You live close to a wooded area, a grass area? So we're good here. I was going to ask this before I started. Do we have any former Marines in the group? All right. No. Okay. Well, I was going to simplify you. Do we have any Vietnam veterans? Okay, we got a few. All right, welcome home, brother. I was over there from 1966 to 1968. And I was born in North Carolina on a farm. Hard work. On my way back to Vietnam in 1967, they were shipping me out from Treasure Island. And I come to San Francisco, it was the summer of love in San Francisco. Man, what a time. What a time. I came here and I said to myself, when I left going back to Vietnam, I'd never be able to go back to the farm again. So as soon as I got out of service, I came back to the Bay Area and loved it. Now, here's another thing I would just like to talk about fire safety. This is something that happened to me. A lot of us, we forget. We're not as, our memory doesn't hold like it used to. Sure. And this is in the kitchen cooking. Okay. Yeah. I was last week, I was boiling some Brussels sprouts. And I thought, well, that's simple. I'll watch them boil. And my doorbell rang, and a friend came by I hadn't seen in a long time. It was a nice day, so we sat on the front porch just talking. And I'm thinking, God, is someone burning something in the neighborhood? Is someone burning something in the neighborhood? And I was right, someone was burning. I went back in the house, someone was burning something in the neighborhood. You know, those Brussels sprouts, the pan was all black on the bottom. And, oh man, what a bummer. Now, that could have been, I could have been frying something, could have been on top of the stove. And that would have been a fire. Just a fellow firefighter sitting down below. You know what? Most of the calls we go to, a lot of the calls we go to, is someone has forgotten something on the top of the stove. Oh, yeah. So if that happened to you, number one, the thought is, if you're going to cook, then you stay in the kitchen. You know, if you're going to leave, turn off the stove. If by some chance that there's a fire, let's say in a frying pan, do you put water on it? No. That's the worst thing that can happen. Have a lid that way. You put a lid on top of it. Because, you know, for fire and grease just love each other. And I love you if you pour it on top of it. So you put a lid on top of it and smother it. If there's a fire in your oven, close the oven door and turn off the gas. Turn everything off, electricity. And if it doesn't go out, what do? That's right. Go outside, close the door, and call 911. And let someone come that knows how to deal with it. You know, with earthquakes, what do you do if there's an earthquake? If there's an earthquake right now, what would we do? That's right. Have a drink of water. Lean over, try to kiss you real goodbye, huh? And you're right. Someone said, try to find a sturdy table. If there's not a table, then you get on your knees. What they call it, duck and cover. Get on your knees and cover your head and your neck. Yeah. And then if there's something sturdy like a table, you crawl under it. And if it's a really heavy earthquake, then you partially cover with one hand, still on your knees and elbows, and you grab the table because the table will be moving. A lot of you experienced 1989. Yeah. And they can become worse than that. I was a Marine. I worked at the American Embassy in Rabat, Morocco in 1968. And we had an level 8 earthquake come through. And man, that's the first time I've been in an earthquake. And it's scary, buddy. You had Marines crying. Because you get the aftershocks that come through, and you can hear them coming like a train. And you think, where am I going to go? And people had told us that earlier, back in early 60s, in one of the cities in southern Morocco had been completely wiped out, Agadir. You know, it was wiped out so bad, there was nothing left. It just went down and dumped lime all over the city. And it was telling the experience people had that the earth was cracking over the cracks, and the earth was swallowing people. And so here we are with the aftershocks coming, and you hear it coming, people start screaming and crying. And you're thinking in your mind, now if the earth cracked, you won't be like that. When the first one came, I had been out that night, and I had what we used to call poor old sergeants, where you go out and drink, and when you come back in. And so I was sleeping and trying to sleep it off the next day. Some night in the bed, I'm going, I think, oh God, I got the worst hangover than that. And then I heard people screaming, and so I got up, and it's an earthquake. What's an earthquake? But anyway, so the earthquake, so That's one of the best things to do. Number one, not to run outside. You know, so get down, protect yourself. Get next to a wall. That's what we do. Have it. So what's that? Yeah, if you're outside, you want to get away from buildings and get away from electrical lines. Yeah. So that's with the fire safety. You know, there's other things you know about. You know about smoke detectors. You have those. And do you ever check your smoke detectors? You should check them every month.
Twice a month when I burn something on the stove.
Tell the truth and shame the devil. Huh? And yeah, at least once a month. And change the batteries when? Yeah, yearly. And normally when the changes are to go from daylight saving to, that's a good time to change the batteries. Is that right? Okay. But everything's changed.
There are some newer smoke detectors that have batteries that last for something like 10 years.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Check them anyway. I have some of those and they didn't last 10 years.
But yeah, just keep checking. How many of you have the carbon monoxide? You know, that's important. Did you ever go to call a carbon monoxide call?
Oh yeah.
God, I go to, that's the weirdest. You know, you get a call in medical, okay, they get your medical, you don't know what's going on. And you think, oh man, what is this? Is this some contagious disease? Or, and that was our first experience. There used to be the Wagon Wheel Hotel. It was the first one I went on Monterey Road. And then when we started getting the immigrants from Vietnam in, when they came in, they would cook. You know, they would cook inside using open stove charcoal. That's right, charcoal on the inside. And until we were able to educate them, we went on quite a few calls like that. Yeah, carbon monoxide poisoning. And so here's the rule on that: is number one, to have the detectors, and also to test them, to get a feel for the pulse, the sound of those detectors. Because if you're not used to them, you think it's fire or something that's going to hit. You don't know. But if you have a carbon monoxide detector going off, just go outside, close your door, and call 911. Yeah. Because you can't smell this stuff. You know, you can't smell it. It's a silent killer. And if you're cooking outside, let's say we're talking about what to do if there's an earthquake or something like that, or you got an electrical outage. You're going to be barbecuing, cooking outside. Make sure you're about 20 feet from a window. If not, the carbon monoxide comes right in right in the house. It'll do you in. And so what I wanted to talk about today, especially what happened to me, was cooking in the kitchen. Be aware of that. You know, be aware of leaving things on the stove. And number two, think about an exit strategy. That it can happen to us. It can happen to anyone. Paradise. They named the city Paradise because it was just so beautiful. And nothing really happened there. Crime rate 0. But this one morning, without any warning, what happened? Yes. Know where your valuables are. Place your documents and have them in one place where you can take them. Know what you want to take out in an emergency. Be prepared. Be prepared. That's the best. Okay, I want to thank you guys for having me here. I have more fire protection But you know that stop, drop, and roll and stuff like that. That's elementary. But now remember here, you teach you how to do the Hamlet Maneuver. If you see someone choking, did you ever have to use that? Yeah, I've used it twice. First time I used it, I was scared to death. There was a person, an older person that was going down and wasn't talking that much. And I'm thinking, God, I have to do something. And suppose it's a heart attack. Yeah, that's what I was asking myself. And so finally I determined it was joking. And sure enough, it worked. Boom! Jump the stake, jump that. Yeah. Yeah. So that that knows that. Yes, sir.
With carbon monoxide detectors, where they're plugged in, is carbon monoxide denser than oxygen or air, or you put it at the?
No, it's lighter. It just has what, one molecule of oxygen, where regular oxygen has two. It's O2, and this just has one. So it's lighter.
So put the monitor down low, and if it's a two-story, make sure it's, I guess, on the bottom stories.
Yeah, that's where I'm putting it. What did you put the carbon monoxide?
We try to uphill from up and down.
Oh, yeah, up and down, yeah.
Basically,
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
it's hard to tell. You're here the two. When they first used them, they said put them down.
Yeah.
But now, listen, you can put them up also. But you know with smoke detectors, you put them up. And a lot of times now you get smoke detector, you can get a smoke detector and in combination with a carbon monoxide.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Are there any more questions? Yes, sir.
There's a fraud with property inside of the safe. Okay, or would the water go in?
Yeah, it depends on the safe. No, just a regular safe, it would. Yeah. Yeah, it would. Any other questions? Well, it's been a joy talking with you guys. We're talking about fire safety, I can do it all day long. Thank you.